So Dominic Thiem and Alex de Minaur, they're facing off in the round of 16 of the Madrid Open. Now Thiem has had this year, he hasn't really been his best year, because Thiem this year has actually struggled for the most part. The only thing that really stands out in his results is his fourth round appearance in the Australian Open. He lost to Dimitrov in straight sets, but he hasn't had the best year. He had early losses in Dubai, in the ATP Cup, in Doha as well. But he looked like he was somewhere close to approaching his best last match with a 6-1, 6-3 win over Giron. He looked pretty good in that match, and he looked like he's slowly getting back to his best level. So we're going to see if maybe he can replicate that against de Minaur, because de Minaur isn't the best on clay. It's weird because his style should actually suit the clay, but it actually is worse on the clay. But he isn't so good on clay, so Thiem should be confident of his chances of winning here. Now, de Minaur this year also, he hasn't also been his best year because he had a couple of early losses, especially in Dubai, in Miami, in Monte Carlo as well. He's had a couple of early losses too, so he isn't at his best either. So he is still trying to work his way back, but he's had some encouraging signs with a loss against Tsitsipas that was a little bit close, and a couple wins in the Madrid Open against de Minaur and Harris, even though the Harris one was a retirement. So you can't really put much stock into the Harris win, but still, it's still a good run from de Minaur that he's having so far, which is encouraging because he's playing Thiem and he's going to need to be at his best to beat Thiem, especially on the clay courts. Now, they've met 3 times and Thiem has won all those encounters in straight sets. They met in the US Open. Thiem won that one in straight sets. On a clay court event in the Davis Cup, Thiem needed 4 sets, but he won it. And the US Open, Thiem also was another straight sets win for Thiem. So my prediction, I think it's going to be a straight sets win for Thiem again, because I think that it's in the best of 3 format. But it's going to be a straight sets win for Thiem, because Thiem is, I guess, just a better player on the clay. De Minaur isn't good on clay, and he's had to struggle to get a couple of wins, while Thiem just really did well yesterday and beat his opponent pretty easily. So I'm going to pick Thiem in straight sets here. So Aslan Karatsev and Alexander de Minaur, they're facing off in the round of 16 of the Madrid Open. Now, Karatsev, as I've said a lot of times, this year has been his best year so far. In the ATP Cup, he only played doubles, but his team managed to win the tournament in Russia. In Australian Open, he had a semifinal run, beating numerous good players such as Schwartzman. He beat FAA, he beat Auger-Aliassime, and he beat Dimitrov also. So he's had some really good wins, especially because he was the first qualifier to make the semifinals of the Australian Open in such a long time. So he's really having a good year this year. And he also has had he won the Dubai Tennis Championships back in March, and he defeated Rublev along the way. He defeated Sinner, numerous good players, and Evans as well. And then he transformed his good form over to the clay courts. He made the final in Serbia, and he defeated Novak Djokovic, world number 1 along the way, which is a good win for Karatsev, because he lost to him at Australian Open pretty easily, but he managed to beat him on his home country, and he lost to Berrettini. But what was really encouraging was that he still managed to take a set, even though he was tired probably. He still managed to get a set, which was encouraging. And here in Madrid too, he's also had some good signs too. He's had some good matches. He beat Umber in straight sets relatively easily, and then Schwartzman, he then came from a set down to beat him in 3 sets, and his game wasn't as good in the first set, but in the next 2 sets it felt better. So he looks like he's playing really well so far, Karatsev, and when he's on, he's a threat to anyone now in the draw. So it's going to be someone we have to watch out for. Now, Bublik has also had a good season this year, but that was mostly on the hard courts, because he's been vocal that he doesn't like the clay, that it's not his surface. But he's also had some good runs. He won a final in Antalya, a final in Singapore, and he's also had some good wins. He beat Zverev in straight sets in Rotterdam, and he also made the quarterfinals of his first Masters 1000 quarterfinal. He made it in Miami, and in which he lost to Sinner in straight sets, but still, it was a good run from him. And he also had some good wins in the Madrid Open. He beat Fucsovics in straight sets in the impressive win, and as I predicted, he beat Shapovalov as well in straight sets. So some good wins for Bublik there. Now they've never met on tour, so they have a 0-0 head-to-head. So my prediction here, I think it's going to be Karatsev to win it in straight sets. I think that while Bublik is a great player, he's a great youngster, I think that Karatsev is more stable, number one. And also, Karatsev is also more... He's also just better on the clay than Bublik is. Because it's weird because his game is aggressive, and most aggressive players struggle on the clay. But a lot of the good players find a way to crack the code. They find a way to transfer their game effectively. And Karatsev has done that. I think that it's going to be 2 tight sets because Bublik is playing well, but I think it's going to be a Karatsev straight to win because right now he's just playing on another level. I don't see too many people matching him. So Karatsev in straight sets is my prediction. So Daniil Medvedev and Christian Garin, they're facing off in the 4th round of the Madrid Open. The 3rd round. Now, Medvedev had to come through a topsy-turvy match last round. You know, the match he played was filled with drama. It was definitely filled with drama, and he had to come through it. But he beat Davidovich Fokina coming from a set down. He beat him 4-6, 6-4, 6-2. Medvedev this season has had a relatively good season. He managed to make the final of the Australian Open, won the ATP Cup, and also won a title in Marseilles. And he also reached the quarterfinals of the Miami Open, so he's had some good results. But we all know that hard courts are his domain. Clay courts aren't really his best surface. He's been really vocal about how there's nothing he really likes about the surface. He doesn't really like it. It doesn't translate well to his game because he's a very flat, linear hitter, and he doesn't hit with most times with any topspin. So we all know that because of that, a lot of us know that that's the reason why he struggles, because he doesn't hit with much topspin. So he doesn't really like the surface because his flat shots are rewarded more on hard courts and grass. So on clay courts, he kind of struggles, but he still did well to come through a topsy-turvy encounter. Now, Garin, in contrast, is one of the best clay court players who actually struggles a little bit on hard court, but he's one of the best clay court players, and he's in good form. He won a title in Chile, in his home country, and he's also done well in this tournament too. He beat Verdasco in straight sets. He was clutch, saved all 8 break points he faced in that match, and he beat Kopfer in straight sets 6-3, 6-4. He also won 81% of his points on his first serve. Good sign for him. And now he gets to play Medvedev in the round of 16. Now, Garin and Medvedev, they met once. It was in the Rogers Cup in 2019, and Medvedev won it in straight sets. So my prediction is, I think that it's going to be a Garin win, because while Medvedev leads the head-to-head, that was on the hard court, and we're talking about here is a clay court. And Garin is one of the best clay courters so far, and he's playing really well. Especially, he hasn't dropped more than 4 games per set, and he hasn't dropped a set either. So he's playing extremely well in this tournament, and I just don't see Medvedev matching him. So I'm going to pick Garin to win this in a 3-set match. So Stefanos Tsitsipas and Casper Ruud, they're facing off in the round of 16 of the Madrid Open. Now, Tsitsipas this year has had a lot of great results. In the Australian Open, he made the semis. He also did well in Rotterdam. He made the semis as well. He made the quarters in Marseilles. In Acapulco, he made the final. In Miami, he managed to make the quarterfinal. In Monte Carlo, he won his first Masters 1000 title. He beat Rublev in the final, 6-3, 6-3. In that tournament, he did not drop a set at all, and did not lose more than 5 games per set. So he did play really well in that tournament. In Barcelona, he also made the final and pushed Rafa Nadal to a 3rd set. He was very close, but he lost in 3 tight sets that lasted over 3 hours. And in Madrid, so far in his first match against Benoit Paire, which could have been a tricky match for Tsitsipas, he managed to beat him. He thrashed him 6-1, 6-2. which was a good sign. And he almost won double the points of Benoit Paire. So that's a good sign for Tsitsipas, as he's looking that he's pretty confident in this match, and he gets to play Ruud in the next round. Now, Casper Ruud had a similar match against Nishioka. He beat him 6-1, 6-2, almost won double the points that his opponent did. And Ruud has had a great season this year too. He made it the semis of Monte Carlo. So of the matches 1,000 tournament for the second time. The first time was back in Rome last year. In Germany, he made the semis as well. So he's had some good results so far, and even the Australian Open, he reached the 4th round. So he's had some decent results so far. He's played decently, and he's going to be confident against Tsitsipas. Now, they've never met, but they've met once unofficially, and Tsitsipas won that in 3 tight sets, 6-3, 6-7, 7-6. So my prediction here, this one is going to be a tough match, I know, because Ruud is playing really well, and Tsitsipas is also playing well, but I'm going to side with Steph. You know, he's been really clinical so far his past few matches, and he's finally looking like he's becoming consistent, and he also hasn't lost before a quarterfinal in any of the tournaments he's played, so I'm going to pick Steph to win it because I think he's playing extremely well. He's playing well so far, and I think that he can beat Redding. It's going to be 2 tight sets, but I think it's going to be Tsitsipas that gets the win. So my pick here is Tsitsipas in 2 tight sets.